Hello everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again, we've found ourselves in a whole different vibration. And you wonder why, but there's no real reason. I can tell you a lot of things that have happened, but I can't tell you any reason. I think it's just part of the natural progression where we've taken ourselves to a point where our communication system is actually now connected into the galactic network. So everything in the earth, everything in the world is now running on automatic. In total harmony with all the galaxies. No matter what anybody does, that will operate automatically. So everybody's life is suddenly supported. The vibration feels different, and all the connections are thrown off to the wind, so that the normal movement feels quite different. It's a little bit like you now don't need a reference. You now have confidence flowing in to support the framework that's not actually a framework. It's a confidence field, and it's confidence in your own competence and in your position in the universe. Everything that you knew was available when you first headed towards Earth is now flowing into and around everything you do. So last week I spoke about how it's going to be possible to enliven everything that's in your life, to enliven the earth, the trees, the birds, the events, your car, your computer, all the things that you value, and they will almost certainly come alive for you. It'll go further than that, to where your communication system actually uses the universal laws and allows you to control the movement or the progress of anything you interact with by your connection, not by your mind, even though that's the only way science can explain it. It's through the massive networks that you're all connected to, individually and separately, so that you have full access to the magic and to the gifts that you've always known to be yours. There'll be a lot of what I might call speculation into what everything means. But as you feel the perfection, the speculation disappears. As you feel the beautiful interaction you have with the universal fields that they're now calling plasma, you'll have no doubt that it's there for you. You'll have no doubt that you have much more, not available to you, but available for the world, than what the world can see. So we're in that transmitting mode where we're delivering our gifts through the complete network, the universal network and communication networks of the Earth and the human entity that we know is rising up and making itself known. The delivery of all this has no explanation. It has a realization and sometimes an unusual response of something like, well, it's about time. Because the delays are now obvious. So when we say it's about time, it means we're not thanking anybody for anything. We're just saying, well, it was supposed to be that way. Let's get on with it. And there's not a question of what to do or how to do it. It's just like, well, I've been waiting for a taxi for 3 hours. You've arrived. Thank you. Now let's go where I want to go. And it has nothing to do with planning anything. You're already waiting to go somewhere. So notice that each time your life takes off, it won't be controlled by circumstance. It won't be controlled by anything. It will just take off. Because you already have a destiny. You already have a picture of where you're going. It's just not written in the old descriptions that you were brought up with. It's written in a universal language within each one of us and totally agreed to by each one of us. We make room for one another in this world. We make room for one another in every world because there is a total agreement, even though it's not the sort of agreement that you talk about on Earth. It's an agreement that's natural. Just like a lemon tree doesn't grow out of a flower. It grows out of the ground. By natural agreement, there are places and positions for everybody and everything. The biggest thing that I can say from here is it's all running automatically. And so the old part of your brain that says, well, what am I going to do now? Will probably have a little bit of getting used to the natural flow. But I can assure you, you're all going to be extremely busy with lots of confidence, lots of dynamic interaction, and no pulling at one another. There'll be no rough edges because the communication system is in place to make sure that the universal interaction and the galactic influence is in perfect balance. That will mean even the chemistry of what's around us will change. Because when things are in perfect balance, they taste different, they feel different, they act different. Some of the fundamental things on the periodic table, metals, gases, all sorts of things, will have a different performance. Because when they're in harmony, they interact with one another because of their presence, not because they're destroying one another to make something different. It's a little bit like the energies of two people in love produce another entity. that impresses everybody and has power beyond belief. This is what's happening in every element, in every part of our world. It sounds like an enormous announcement. It is. It's what we've waited for. And it's not the end, it's the start. It's such that we, in our own right, can walk into anything, anywhere, at any time and make it brilliant without any work and without any preparation. So now we'll see a big change in finances as well. And I spoke about the entity rising up and making a difference. And I also spoke about the reality of finances is actually confidence. It's all based on the confidence of each person to be able to interact in a known manner with one another so that they can survive or purchase things or put value at the right level for the right purpose. Let me tell you, this is not just a function in this world. This is a galactic function where there is a confidence in the balance, not of payments, in the balance of distribution. So we're changing from what you might say is a debt system to a credibility system, where the credibility of how everything is distributed is known by everyone. Each one of us has an agreement of where the universal funds and the galactic funds should be distributed. We're extremely smart beings, much more than you think about. But at any time, you can access the details in a fraction of a second and understand it all, and not have to go back or display it to anyone. Every child knows what's right and what's wrong without you teaching them. And they always go for what's wrong to see if you're going to pull them up. So they dare you to actually interact with them. Handled in the right way, it's mischief. Handled in the wrong way, they're being naughty. Every child loves to run off the bed, so you'll catch them before they hit the ground. Every child wants to pull your cupboards to pieces, wants to tear everything down, so that you'll interact with them. And they'll laugh. They don't cry about it, they laugh. They know it's funny. We all got too serious. That will never happen again, because the interaction is controlled by the most complex of balances that's run by the program called simplicity. And you access every part of it by being totally simple. And if you want to be wrong, just start thinking. If you want to be right, Just be natural and say what comes to you. I know that you may think there are comparisons between what each person's opinion is. There are no comparisons. There are no opinions. They are facts and they happen as you speak. Everything is correct. You can't compare two things unless it's the same thing and you're looking at it from different directions. We don't ever have the same thing. We don't ever jointly own the same thing. We have our own version of everything. So the greatest presentation to the world is whatever comes through you. As we move along in the next weeks and months, you'll find there'll be more interaction with all the visitors that have been here longer than us. All the aliens that aren't aliens. All those that have put everything together and have been around for thousands of years. All those who float around outside our field and have full access to everything in the universe. We don't have to learn from these people. We have to be connected in such a way that we all enhance one another. If they can see from another field, we want to know what that is. We can see from a different field, they want to know what that is. Because we're all different functions in the universal world, we're all interested in one another. And as I've said before, if you want to know what's around the corner of a building and there's someone standing there where they can see it, you can easily ask. And they will be able to give you the correct view. But if you want to project yourself to that corner and look around for yourself, you can do that as well. And then after a while, you won't even bother projecting yourself. You'll just look wherever you want to look and you'll see. More events are going to come to everybody that appear through other people's eyes, so that you can have other physical perspectives just to play with, not for any purpose, but just to amuse yourself. And you're not looking at it from someone else's perspective, you're looking through their eyes. We have so many things that we can offer one another. We'll never ever think of them. But every minute we're projecting every part of ourselves and our abilities so that other people can gain. We're putting into the world 10,000 times more than we take out. And that is what gives you the ability to make a difference. Because in every second, there is always something you can add to somebody's field or to some event or to anything that will make it more comfortable. So don't be surprised if regular habits are forgotten. If time and, might I call it, programming of your day even when you should eat, just goes out the window. And some days you'll eat, some days you won't. Some days you'll just feel you've got everything you want. We're moving very fast, and we have to, because we want to visit every place that's opening up. We don't want to sit in one spot and say, well, what's happening out there? We want to be flying around everywhere and making it look like we're standing still. So you have to dare to do that. That's the magic of the human entity. The areas that people used to say, well, you're crazy, are actually the areas that are interesting, that are great for us, that maintain our ability to stay in this body. So the more you're flitting around everywhere, the more you'll find that you don't have any connection to anything. You're just not even observing. You're having the time of your life, involving yourself in everything, enjoying the craziest of things, and not putting your body under stress at all. And you watch the number of people who will actually look quite different in the next few weeks, because the load is off. The pressure is off. The restriction has been totally depleted by harmony. So no longer do we have all these forces trying to hold back what they don't like. We have a flow so that everything goes to the right place. And it's controlled by the massive network of all the galaxies connecting back into the Earth and into the communication systems that we're familiar with, including our telephones and our internets, our banks, our systems, our communication with the trees, our communication with the animals, but most of all our communication with one another. It has a perfection about it that can never, ever fail. So it's hard to say where we're going from here, because everybody knows we're going up, out, and into the universe and back into the world and out again and all over the place. We're experiencing all the magic. And if it's not here, we go and get it. Bring it in. Create more. And watch our being come alive. Because we have it all now. We have all the facilities. And anything that stops you, you can just look at it and say, go away. And poof, it's gone. That's the ability. All the way out, animated movies were all made to make it look like you couldn't do that, so that they could own the thrill of your being. Know that that belongs to you, not to the movies, not to the animation. And you've seen more and more people coming out of nowhere being able to do all these things, almost with their eyes shut. Little children drawing, perfect, drawings and they can hardly walk. Same with playing music and singing and lots of arts. And I know there are many young ones around that can look into a crystal and tell you what's in there. They can look into an integrated circuit that you can hardly see and they can tell you what it does. We can do all that. So although we're on, probably some of us are on the later part of coming into this magic world, we're the ones that hold the guidelines to make sure nobody crashes. We're the ones that can see with a stability that says if you're going to fly off the end of the cliff, you better make sure you can get back. Because many of the things that we will do are not working too well yet. The fact that we can actually leap off a cliff and we don't need a parachute will be a natural thing soon, where people now show how well they dance and they get themselves in totally unstable positions easily and don't fall over. They run up walls, they do somersaults that you could never ever imagine yourself doing. And kids on the street can do what the greatest athletes could ever attempt. So we've come ahead a long, long way, but it's going to go a lot faster. All that we're going to gain will come from us and us alone. We won't be gaining anything from out there or from those who owe us. It comes from our own ability, comes from what we generate, and it comes out of nowhere. But through each one of us individually, at a rate that we can set. So I'm going to leave you with that for about 5 minutes and then come back and talk a little bit more about how we're going to handle this very, very new and easy life. See you in 5. Welcome back. If I could recap a little, I'd just like to express that the elevated platform of living is the very thing that you developed to support everything so that the communication systems could actually connect in together. As people come along behind you, they won't know what that is. And you may have to lift them onto that platform and walk away. It's an easy thing to do. With the magic that you all have, you can just see somebody, lift them, and walk away. So that you're not involved in anything but the perfection that they're about to experience. You can do it while you're walking along the street. Each one of you can see when somebody is struggling. Each one of you can see that they're physically struggling, or they're mentally struggling, or they have upsets in their life. And you see it instantly. If only once a day you have the presence of mind to lift one person onto that platform of living, you've achieved a lifelong yearning that we all have. It will work. You know it's worked for you, and you don't know anything about anything. Hello, fly. You don't know anything about anything that has any detail. It's just, there it is. There's that beautiful place. There's that platform of living. And let them get used to it. So in stepping forward, you'll find that you start to influence everybody's life. Not by the attention you give them, but by the attention you give yourself, to make sure that what you're transmitting is totally perfect, totally open, and as powerful as it needs to be. In talking about power, it's not controllable. It's endless. So when you deliver something to somebody, it has endless capability. No longer can we deliver half a package. No longer can we just start to do something and say, well, that'll do you. No longer can we take people through a process. In a fraction of a second, you give them everything. And you're not connected to that. You don't have to do anything about it. You just continue transmitting and delivering gifts all over the place. And if they fall on the ground, they fall on the ground. You have plenty. You have plenty to offer, plenty to deliver. And the more you can see that, the more it will happen with all the systems around you. The more it will happen with the financial system, with your everyday life, and with your ability to fly. It's all to do with movement. We can talk about it as energetic movement, but then that puts it into a linear form. But movement, in the way we know, is actually random so that it creates what you might call solid in the middle of nowhere. So as everything intermingles and works through itself, it weaves a totally invisible, movable structure for us to lift ourselves with. And so you end up with all the chemical structures moving differently and all the fields moving differently so that they have a different field strength. And that takes the load off us. The more movement you have, the brighter you feel. The more sparkles, the lighter you feel. And as you allow them to be totally unlimited and random, you'll start to buzz and you will lift. The scientists will say that's crazy, but they are actually protecting what they've already done. They've already achieved that many times. With sound, with radio waves, with all sorts of things. But what they held back was they learnt all that from the human body. It's only the human body that can determine the random fields that are needed to take the load off itself. So I'm suggesting you have a lot of fun playing with the movement, playing with the impossibility, and allowing everything to go wild around you. I've been through many of those little stages where when you're out in the trees, you're fine, you can do all that. When you come back near people, you actually start throwing sparks because you're too energized. That's not going to happen anymore because we're all doing it. And none of us are running into one another. And none of us are planted on the ground saying, no, this is how it is. If you find someone who decides to plant themselves on the ground, just keep walking. They will follow you. Because they don't want to be there. They want to be as light as you are, as happy as you are, and as bright. So the old interaction of saying, you can't get out of the bottle if I can't, is gone. And I'm sure that all the experiments that they've done in the past to show that one species won't allow its own species to move outside of a certain area is gone. I think if you run all the experiments now, it wouldn't work. Because everything is connected to the network of galaxies right throughout the universe. And by everything, I mean all systems on Earth, all systems that flow through us, and all our systems that we instigate changes with. I think the greatest thing is the feeling of now. It's quite different. It's not like you have to do anything. It's like you're going to. You don't have to hang around. You're going to. You don't have to worry about your age. Who cares? You just live at a level that's suitable for you. And then you keep trying to go beyond it, because that's what you're like. You're like a little child that wants to test everything. that wants to push the boundaries, that wants to run off the end of the bed and be caught. This is the greatest part of our life, and this is what allows us to generate fields that will support anything we need in this world and in others. So as we look further past where we are now, you'll see there's nothing connected to us. We can go anywhere, do anything. The obligations that have been put on us in society will actually not work anymore. We'll just make them look like they work to satisfy the whole system, but they're not really working. The chain around our leg is not there anymore. So as we use our magic, we'll enhance everything and hold nothing out of our field because it's not connected. I'm going to probably stretch things a little bit and suggest that you actually attempt to move the mountain. You've all heard that said. And with a slight movement, you can move the mountain. It won't look the same to you. And there's no proof needed. And then you'll move the clouds. And you'll change things. And people will gradually notice the change. The trees will grow differently. The rocks that used to stick out won't stick out. The harmony will come back into the earth. And it's not to do anything major. It's to show you that you can even change what you see, what you feel, and what exists in your world. And you'll notice that each time you try something, the only thing that works is when you enhance something. The rest doesn't work. Because that's our natural state of being. To enhance, to improve, to do the impossible, and live the dream. When we look at the cartoons and we laugh and we really enjoy how they're put together and the work behind them, etc., we can actually enter straight into them. And many of you have done it. And suddenly you're living the story without anybody knowing. Because it comes from your storybook. There is a world of stories. There's a major world of stories. And this is where the storytellers of the ages have been able to connect. Where they used to sit around in families and groups, and the storyteller would access the world of stories. And people would actually disappear into the scenes that were produced by words. So the art that you all can demonstrate has much more depth than you can ever know. And gradually we'll touch on some of the things that do exist. some of the things that you can do, some of the things that we thought were impossible are actually sitting in front of us, there for us to demonstrate every day. The brilliance of knowing that you don't have to worry about anything is something that can only be held by total movement, that gives you no chance of feeling like you're doing nothing. I don't think I sit still for a moment. I'm always somewhere doing something, seeing somebody, experiencing something, moving energies, walking around, and for many, many months, hardly ever left the house. So know that it's going to change a little bit for everyone. You will feel so capable, so proud of what you're doing, and you don't have to prove it to anyone. You are proving it by your transmission, by the smile on your face, by the feeling that you are totally connected to everything, and you know you're not. You're totally making a difference because of you, because that's what you can do. So in enhancing your world, you enhance everybody else's. And you don't enhance your world by the old way. You enhance your world by the way that you never ever knew before. Every time different. Every time new. Every time, stop it, I did that before. I'll try something different. You never get to the point where anything can be said to be a system that works. Because all systems now run under the control of simplicity, which never allows the same thing twice. And this is why the financial systems that they've set up in the world will go crazy until they feel the dance, till each person is allowed to move, until the whole system becomes alive. So it is an entity we're talking about. It's ours. It belongs to us. We are the ones that make the entity. We are the ones that put the energies out. We're the ones that raise the energies. And we are the ones that succeed. So I'll leave you all with that, and we'll cut it a tiny bit short. But we are the ones that succeed. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll talk again next week. Bye.